When I rose, surrounded by Secret Service, the crowd was confused because they thought I was dead. I wanted to do something to let them know I was okay. I raised my right arm, looked at the thousands and thousands of people that were breathlessly waiting, and started shouting, "Fight, fight, fight." Once my clenched fist went up, and it was high into the air. You've all seen that. The crowd realized I was okay and roared with pride for our country like no crowd I have ever heard before.
That was one of the most notable and emotional parts of former President Trump's speech last night, speaking out on the failed assassination attempt for the first time. While addressing the Republican National Convention last night in Milwaukee, Trump spoke for more than 90 minutes last night as he closed out the four-day convention. The cover of the New York Post this morning says this: "A new dawn. Trump preaches unity, vows to heal divided America in RNC speech." Joining me right now with the very latest is Trump 2024 senior advisor Jason Miller, with President Trump all week. Jason, thank you so much for being here this morning. Congratulations. It was an incredible convention. What are you thinking about this morning as you reflect on these last 4 days?
Well, Maria, thank you for having me. It definitely was a great convention, and I believe an even greater speech by President Trump. When that clip that he showed last night, there was not a dry eye in the entire building as President Trump told that story about the assassination attempt on his life only a few days earlier. And the calls for unity, the talk of the big tent Republican Party over the week really set the tone. And I think that because of the strength of this convention, because of the strength of President Trump's speech, I think this effort by Democrats to run a political coup against Joe Biden probably accelerates. But the problem for the Democrats is that you can't tell Joe Biden to get out of the race for the White House in 2024 without actually leaving the White House. If you're too incompetent for one, you're too incompetent for the other.
Yeah, I want to get back to that because you're right. The Wall Street Journal writes it that way as well this morning. The editorial board writes, "Democrats prepare for the Biden coup." But let me get back to the Trump speech for a second, because another notable and emotional part of it was when President Trump showed Corey Comperatore's fire coat and his fire hat and talked about how he spoke with his wife, Helen. This was also an important part of the speech. Do you want to weigh in on how the president worked all of this in to those closing remarks?
President Trump obviously had spoken with Corey's widow and had helped to raise, I think we're now up to $6.3 million. Dan Newland very graciously gave $1 million check and handed it to President Trump yesterday. And President Trump wanted to honor Corey in the best way possible, and so he had his firefighter helmet and his jacket there, but what was not expected is that President Trump went up and hugged the helmet and the jacket, and so emotional.
It really was. All right, now on to the other side where the Democrats are in scramble mode. We are hearing that President Biden could step down on Sunday, get out of this race. You just said if he's going to step out of the race, he needs to step down from the presidency. Look, these issues were not secrets. We all watched it. Joe Biden deteriorate in terms of cognitive abilities. In fact, a year ago, I was saying on this very program, I don't think there's a shot that Biden is going to be the nominee. Here's a flashback.
It's all about treating people with dignity. And it's about making sure that, look, I mean, for example, look at the heat I'm getting because I named the Secretary of Defense, a black man. I named Ketanji Brown. I mean, because of the people I've named.
And that, of course, was the BET interview, Jason, where he could not remember Lloyd Austin's name. The defense secretary called him that black man. And here's the flashback of me on Biden a year and a half ago. Watch. I've said this before, but I don't think there's any shot that Joe Biden runs for re-election in 2024. There's absolutely no shot. Everybody knows it. But is there a bench for Joe Biden's spot? I'll say it again. I don't think Joe Biden has a shot to run in 2024. Over a year ago, I said there's no shot that Joe Biden is going to be the nominee on the Democrat side. So what do you think the ticket looks like, and are you expecting him to step down?
Well, great question. I think if it's up to Joe Biden, he definitely does not step down. I think Joe Biden is so self-centered that he thinks that God sent him to this planet simply to try to stop President Trump. But here's the thing, when you talk about the obvious decline that we've seen with Joe Biden, everybody has seen this. It's been plain as day. But if Joe Biden was leading President Trump in the polls, the cover-up by many in the media, by the Democrats, would still be going on. But it's only because President Trump did so well in that debate, only because President Trump had such a great convention this week, including last night's speech, that these calls, this acceleration to get rid of Joe Biden, only speeds up. But here's the problem: is they go into the convention. Some 3,700 of the 3,800 regular delegates are bound to Biden. It's going to be tough to force him out if he doesn't want to go.
Jason, tomorrow Trump will be in Michigan for a rally with his new VP pick, J.D. Vance. This will be their first rally together. Obviously, it'll be Trump's first rally since the assassination attempt. I want you to talk about J.D. Vance a moment, because there is, some questions about the ticket, certainly from some. In fact, there's an opinion piece in the Journal called The Trump-Vance Divide. And I also want to get your take on what kind of security increases are you planning around President Trump after the assassination attempt, because there's a real investigation underway on whether or not Kimberly Cheadle should step down from the Secret Service. How is it possible that a former president was put in harm's way in that Pennsylvania rally? So are you planning, did you get new and increased security around the president?
Great questions. With regard to President Trump and J.D. Vance, this is a very unified ticket. President Trump is the one who is leading it. Everything is going to follow President Trump's agenda, and J.D. Vance is fully on board with that. So the unity right now between Trump and Vance is so much different than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, where actually if they both get in the same room, I think they need their own food tasters respectively. With regard to the security around President Trump, it wouldn't be appropriate on national television to talk about any shifts or dynamics or changes of that nature. But you're absolutely right. The fact that something like this could even happen can never happen again. President Trump loves that detail that pounced on him to protect and save his life. But Maria, clearly there have to be some changes made, and they have to get to the bottom of what happened. This can never happen again.
All right. Kimberly Cheadle will testify in front of the House Oversight Committee on Monday. Jason Miller, good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Maria.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.